she's all loaded up, and I'm actually applying a green filter. Now, when you use colored filters with black and white film, if it's the same color, it tends to go lighter. So this green grass that I'm standing on should go lighter versus a mid or darker tone gray that you would typically see in a black and white. Anything that would be red would go pitch black. I see a warning sign. If I take a photo of it, then I expect the red to kind of go very blackish and the grass to go light. Not to white like infrared film, but lighter than it would normally be. All right, so I set it at ISO 320 just to help correct for 6-7 years out of date, nothing terrible. Plus, I like my negatives a little on the overexposed side. It gives me a nice, denser negative, a little easier to scan. All right, I'm going to take some shots right from where I'm at, and hang on, let's see what we can get. All right, the cool thing is that because this is an RT pellicle mirror, RT body with a pellicle mirror, I am not getting that mirror flat blackout. So you can hear the camera take its shot, and it's advancing, but I don't have to, it's easier for me to track something. So if a bird comes flying by, I can keep him in my frame without that momentary blackout. Basically, think of it like a digital camera. Digital cameras don't show you that blackout, at least not the mirrorless digital cameras. I'll correct myself. The mirrorless digital cameras don't have a mirror, so you don't get that haptic or that temporary visual blackout that says, hey, I've taken a photo. You just have to listen to the clicks and beeps of your camera. Now, camera's focusing fine through a green filter, even though it is a darker filter. Locks right on. Let me see what else I can get. Now, I'm shooting in aperture priority. I tend to shoot aperture priority just because I like to control the depth of field. I'm currently shooting at the lowest f-stop, and at wide it's 4.5, at long it's 5.6, and let the shutter speed land where it may, but I got to keep an eye on it because a general rule of thumb is no matter wherever you're at in the focal length of your lens, try to be about at that shutter speed. So this lens at 300 millimeter, I should probably try to be closer to a 250th of a second, maybe a 500th of a second. I can't hold it without any of my jitters. Some people can handhold slower. I've noticed that I can handhold a little slower. And the readings I'm getting pointing out at the lake is about a 250th of a second, so I'm fine. But if I point to where the trees have kind of created a little overcast environment, or a cloud kind of goes over the sky, then that kind of slows me down a little bit. Maybe I got to brace myself. All right, let me see what else I can get. All right, so I'm not gonna go further down the path. Looks like there's some drainage, and it's puddled up right here from the rains we had a couple days ago. And it's really, really muddy. I'm not gonna cross it with my camera gear. I'll come back and keep going down this path. There's cool pier further out, and nice viewpoint, stuff like that. But just because of how the ground is, I'm not gonna keep going through, because I don't want to drop my equipment and stuff like that. All right, cool things that way. I'm going to get a couple shots here with fallen tree log, kind of reddish brownish with some moss on it, so you can kind of see that contrast between the green and the red while using a green filter. All right, I am on shot 31 of 36. We're gonna head that direction. Let's see what we can get. Now, the nice thing about shooting a longer lens like this, 100 to 300, even though it's not the fastest lens in the world, but it does draw things closer to you. So if there was ducks out, I could zoom in on them. I'm isolating some branches that are hanging over the lake into the water. So you can do some nice work like that, where you're trying to get close to something, but you physically can't. Either a bird might fly away or something like that. For me, I've got this really cool tree overhang, and somewhere in the middle there's like green moss all over on top of it, but I can't really climb on the tree. One, I don't have the knees I used to. Two, I'd be afraid to drop the gear into the water because it does overhang the water, or otherwise damage the stuff. So I can use my long lens to get in on the section of the tree that I want. You can do that with landscapes. If you're shooting a wide landscape, if you're involved with the landscape, you're doing some street photography, trying to grab the whole thing. That's great for the shorter, wider angle lenses. But if you are trying to isolate one particular building, or there's a cool glacier off in the distance on a mountain range, you just want that kind of glacier area, then you could use your longer lens and zoom in on that rather than doing the entire wide expanse. All right, I got a couple shots left. Let me see what I can get. Now this lens does have a focus scale on it, so you can kind of see what ranges you're at. This does have a minimum distance just under 2 meters. I'm going to say, you know, 6 feet, maybe 5.5 feet. So I can't shoot anything real close. Like if I'm cool flower or something like that on the ground, I've got to step back and zoom in rather than just physically moving my camera close. All right, let me see what else I can get. All right, I got 35 shots out of this guy, which is fine. I'd rather, you know, lose one shot than, you know, lose the entire roll because it didn't load up correctly. But the camera kicked into rewind mode because it was done. And the nice thing is about some of these automatic SLRs, there's a little window right here, and you can kind of see what film you have in it. This says HP5, you know, 36 exposure. And it says it kicked into rewind. There we go. We are all set. Okay, today's camera was a Canon EOS RT. It has that pellicle mirror that does not move. Kind of the part of the family of the 630, 600 series from the late 80s, early mid 80s, maybe even the late 80s. Right before the Rebel series came out, which I think was early 90s, if I got my timing correct. Anyway, feel free to give the images a thumbs up. Hopefully I get some good ones. You never know with film till you see the results. Feel free to comment on your experience with black and white film. This is Ilford HP5. Couple years out of date, nothing drastic. I did about a third stop overexposure. I tend to like my negs a smidge on the darker side, so I tend to do that anyway. No other adjustments. I was using a green filter, so the green foliage should be a little lighter in tonality, not as light as maybe an infrared film would give, but a little bit lighter. And anything that had a reddish tone. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next episode.